is among my favorites, is one that I smile a little bit because when I start to talk to women about this, this is the one I get the most pushback on.
Okay, good.
But I think
Lay it on me, Gloria.
I think it is the most fun once you get into it, and that is to embrace controversy.
Oh, I loved that one. I love that one. I love the 7
See,
C's.
you're very evolved here.
Well, I love the 7 C's of controversy. In fact, as I was reading the Power Tools, I thought, it's great that somehow I found my way to being as out there as you're suggesting we be, and it's really not that out there.
But it is, when you put it all together, it's actually pretty transformational.
For sure.
It really is. I think human beings sort of have this innate need to back off, or a response where we back off if there's conflict. And in fact, I think in a pluralistic society, very often the way we figure out how to get along with each other is by not engaging in conversation that is controversial. But the fact is that we can't grow as human beings if we don't engage in that controversy.
That's right.
And democracy can't really even survive if we don't engage in that controversy. So what I learned from years on the front line as an activist for women is that, you know what, when you're controversial, that's when they're paying attention to you.
I know.
That's when you've got a platform.
It's fun.
That's when you get to deliver your message and explain to people why you believe what you believe. And when you do that, they may not necessarily agree with you, but 9 times out of 10, it'll make them think. And even if there's a little conflict involved, it often is the very little thing that enables social change to happen. Or even in just a personal relationship. When you're afraid to engage an issue because you're afraid there will be that conflict, it festers.
Yeah.
You know, and then
We
there's
don't
a lot
like
of bad
that.
stuff. There's a lot of bad energy that goes on
yeah.
with that. So I think that learning to embrace controversy is perhaps my next most favorite power tool.
I love that too, because, you know, for women that are just getting themselves healthy for the first time, a lot of it requires them to speak up in new ways that they haven't before in their family context. I can't tell you how many conversations I have with women about, oh, it's the holidays and we do things XYZ ways. I said, well, maybe you should say what you feel about your new relationship to your body and to food and your lifestyle. And lead and follow that, back it up with leading by example. Don't try to change anybody's mind per se, but live an example of your vision, what you're identified with. And I love the wearing the t-shirt. That was
wear the shirt.
Wear the shirt.
Wear the shirt.
That's a favorite of mine
right,
too, because you have to be proud of what you believe in and what you're living for. If you don't stand for something, you fall for anything, kind of thing. And I loved that too.
Yeah, no, that's another good one. I also believe very strongly in the power of stories, and tell your story is, I left that to be the 9th power tool. But in many respects, it's one of the most essential ones.
Oh, yes.
This is how human beings have learned and developed and become what we are. It's the sharing of the stories. And when I talked particularly to young women, as I was writing No Excuses, I can't tell you how many said to me, you know, we just want the older women to tell us their stories. Tell us how you did it. Tell us what you encountered, what the difficulties were. How did you manage? How did you manage to have a job and raise a child? How did you learn to have a successful relationship? How did you change that policy in Congress? And I think it's not surprising that they ask us that, because we don't tend to learn women's history in school.
And we don't tend to live in intergenerational communities anymore.
That's true.
That's
true.
something that I notice.
So, and I think older women need to hear younger women's stories too, because I consider myself one of the older women now, and I need to learn from the younger women what their perspectives are on the world, because otherwise I ossify.
Well, and what you're talking about is just the value of dialogue and community, right? A lot of women who are going through the issues that my readers go through feel very isolated. I'm the only one. And whatever your particular passion is, be it, activism for the planet or activism for you to get healthy, there is this, without that conversation, without that community, we feel alone, and that is not a powerful place to stand from.
Right, and particularly when we're talking about reproductive issues, which you discuss so much with your clients, these are not even things that can be taught in school. things that
Sadly.
every one of us individually is different.
Right.
And so unless we can share our experiences and our stories, it's very hard for us to then place ourselves
Right.
in well, where are we on this spectrum, and what can I learn from this woman and how she dealt with this particular situation. So I think that your story is your power, your story is your truth. And I talk a lot about that. I really do believe in speaking one's own truth and being authentic. And they say the truth will set you free. I will say that authenticity, I think, it gives you integrity, a
And
feeling of integrity.
I think it catapults you onto the path that your life is meant to take if you just keep standing behind your word and speaking your truth.
Yes, and wear your shirt, and
Wear your
embrace
shirt.
controversy, and define your terms, and
And
all that.
if I can say one of my favorite power tools is that everything that you need is at your fingertips, whether or not you see it yet.
Right.
That it's coming,
Right.
and you just have to have that trust that you're on the right path.
And have the courage to actually use it when you see it. I mean, the worst mistakes I have made in my life, both in personal life and frankly in my work life, have been when I have had this intuition and I knew something was there and I needed to use it or do it or pay attention to it, and I ignored it. And yeah, so having the courage to actually use that power that you actually see that you have is a very important thing.
Oh. Well, ladies, again, first of all, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy
Alisa.
schedule to come and
My
be
pleasure.
here and be at the center. Please get this book, read it. It will change your relationship to power. It will make you feel like you can do anything. And ladies, I think the world is desperate for all of us to just get off our tuchuses and make the positive changes that we would like to see. And I really think this book is the vehicle for you to really understand exactly how tactically you can start to do that, and that those power tools are in your invisible toolkit already waiting for you.
And if I may just add one thing to
Please.
that, which is that I love that ringing voice of support for No Excuses. But I also know that the answers are not all there. The rest of the answers are in what we all know in our collective wisdom and how we figure things out as we go. And so I would like to invite anybody who sees this to come to my website, which is just called gloriafeldt.com.
Great.
FELDT, just to confuse people. That I have a blog that's called 9 Ways. And on the 9 Ways blog, I talk about each of the power tools, and I have many examples, and women have shared many of their stories and examples, and so I just invite
I would love
that.
to come share
Oh,
mine.
please do.
Everybody,
because-
come
yes,
share.
Yes, please, everybody come share, because the more I think we talk to each other and share our stories, the stronger we'll all be.
So wonderful. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.